Hi everyone, and welcome to this webinar on the CrankWheel and Talkdesk integration. It's great to have you all here. Now you can hear me, or you should be able to hear me. There is a chat window that you can open up within the webinar view. It's a chat icon near the top right hand of your webinar window. It is probably already open, so if you have any questions, just go ahead at any point in time, fire away your questions. Many of them I will try to answer during the webinar, and for the rest, I will send answers after the webinar to you by email. So welcome, and let's get started. So the subject of today's webinar, let me just start sharing my screen here. The subject of today's webinar is the integration between CrankWheel and Talkdesk. And I have here on my screen, I've already opened up a test account that I have for Talkdesk. So if you were a Talkdesk customer already, or if you are a Talkdesk customer already, this is kind of the home screen that you would see when you log into Talkdesk. And right now, I don't have any applications installed with Talkdesk. So what we'll start by doing is we'll start simply by installing CrankWheel. We'll go through that. And after we've installed CrankWheel, we'll just go through a couple of very simple use cases. And then we will enable instant demos, which is a lead capture process that's part of CrankWheel. And we'll see how when an instant demo request comes in, you can, if you want to handle the request, you can click to call the number that your prospect entered, the phone number, click to call that, and we'll see how that opens up in Talkdesk, and you get to make the phone call directly in Talkdesk. So first of all, let's click here, My Apps, and then Explore App Connect. And you'll find CrankWheel just by scrolling down the list a little bit. There it is. And I'll click that. Now, this will show a description of CrankWheel, some screenshots. You can take a look at the plans and pricing. You'll see that there's a 30-day free trial available. That's for people who are already using Talkdesk. And the other plans are identical to our publicly priced plans on crankwheel.com, except there is a larger plan as well called Enterprise. So this is also available to any CrankWheel user, but we price it specifically on the Talkdesk page, simply because people can point and click to join a paid plan. So let's go ahead and install CrankWheel on our Talkdesk account. You click Install. Just takes a couple of seconds. And I'm going to go ahead and select the free trial plan. And I would recommend that most people do this unless you are already familiar with CrankWheel. Then you may want to go straight for a paid account. But the free trial for 30 days offers completely unlimited usage. The other plans that you can select from, just like our plans that we price on crankwheel.com, are based not on the number of agents you have, but on the number of meetings per month that you're doing. Now, and so all of them come with an unlimited number of accounts for users. So click Next here, and then you can select which of your users you would like to include as users of CrankWheel. It's very easy to just say select all here. For this test or this demo, I'm just going to select myself. And then I click Next. Now I have to agree to some terms and conditions. You can see a more detailed description of each of these right here, but it's pretty simple. It's basically it's asking for your account details, your user list for the users that you enable. And so you agree with the terms and conditions after reading them, of course. They are behind these links. And once you've done that, you can just click Install. Okay, so now it says CrankWheel has been installed for your Talkdesk account. And you can click here whenever you like, and any of the users you added, they can go to My Apps as well and click here. And they will also be getting an email telling them that CrankWheel has been added to their account. Now, just before we go there, I'm just going to uninstall CrankWheel because I already had it, just so you see the full process. So after installing, CrankWheel is here. When you click that, it's going to bring you to, if you just installed CrankWheel, then you are the owner of the account, and you will have administrative control. If you don't have, if you're a normal user whose administrator just added them, all you would see is essentially this and launch CrankWheel, which lets you launch the CrankWheel extension, which you use to present. So the first time you do this, it's going to prompt you in a couple of seconds to install CrankWheel, which is just a two-click thing. Just click again, and it's installed. It's going to say thanks for installing, and it's going to point you to the icon that you should click, which is this one. So to use CrankWheel, you go ahead and click that. When you come in through the Talkdesk integration, you're already going to be logged in. And if you wish, you can go through this sort of onboarding flow that shows you some of the basic functionalities of CrankWheel, start by screen sharing and so on. For the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to skip the tour by clicking down there. And let's clean up these windows here. Thanks for installing CrankWheel, they're saying. Here's the service again. Now, the basic use case would be, let's share something. Let's share this browser tab right here. And then let's say send someone a text message to get them connected. I just sent that to my own mobile phone, so let's see if that arrives within a couple of seconds. Okay, so that just arrived, and I don't know if you can see this very well, but it says join my meeting by clicking this link. And so let's click the link. And here's what it's doing on screen. It is loading the screen share right now. And actually it's loaded. It just isn't showing up very well on the camera. So anything you do here, and this is just basic CrankWheel functionality, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Just wanted to show you that everything like this, all the basic screen sharing stuff, it works exactly the same as with a standard version of CrankWheel. But it's just a little bit better integrated into Talkdesk. You saw that you didn't have to log in after installation. You didn't have to create a separate CrankWheel account. You're logged in with your Talkdesk account straight over to CrankWheel. So I'll just stop sharing here. Now, the next thing I want to show you is I want to enable instant demos on this new company account. So enable now. And I'm just going to select all the agents that I have configured and enable for those. Now it's going to open up the CrankWheel presenter panel again. And this section down here, demo requests, is new. It wasn't there earlier. So, all right, so I've enabled instant demos. And now what I want to do is, is to actually request a demo or pretend to request a demo. So I'm going to type in just a special URL that will let me go straight to a lead capture dialog for instant demos. And the first question for instant demos is always, what is your phone number? And I'm just going to enter mine. And you'll see as soon as I entered the number, there's an on-screen notification. And this would show up for all of your agents for whom you have enabled instant demos. And I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but there's going to be a ding in a couple of seconds from my phone. So that's a text message notification as well. But what we'll do is we'll just click this to view the instant demo request. And you see that I see most of the phone number, not all of it, because I haven't committed to actually calling this person. The request origin, which is the web page where the lead capture form was shown. Normally, this could be your own homepage, for example, your company's homepage, and the location. And then I will see in real time anything that the prospect actually enters here. So let's say they enter their email address, then CrankWheel will actually try to enrich the prospect information. You see right here, it's actually found my full name, the company name, where I work, a link to my LinkedIn, and it's got more stuff. Okay, now let's pretend you want to handle this request. You're committing to handling the request. Just click here, and assuming that you're the first person to commit to handling that request, you see you'll get the full phone number. On the prospect end, you see the prospect is shown a screen like this. This is the person who is going to call you. Okay, and now because we're using the Talkdesk integration, what I can do is I can simply click here, and it's going to open up Talkdesk, and it's going to make that phone call directly to the phone. Now, you see here that it's making the phone call, and if you look at my phone, you see that it's calling, and I'm just going to end the call, hang up. But let's pretend I had answered. Then you can do call confirmed. And now you can go, let's go back to where the prospect was. The prospect is told, please keep this window open. The call is underway. The agent is talking to the prospect now. The agent can still view all the information about what we gathered for the prospect and the enriched information. And then whenever you want, you can switch to actually sharing, let's say, one of your program windows. Let's just share the CrankWheel window. And the screen share, at this point, I would tell the prospect, okay, right now I'm going to share my screen to you, and it's going to open up in the same browser window where you requested the demo. So sharing the screen, and you'll see it just opens up right away in the same browser window. So that's the basic instant demos flow with the additional feature of making the phone call right there in Talkdesk. Now let's end here. And you see, when I ended the phone call in Talkdesk, there's this feature called a call summary. So now you can actually summarize the call, say what happened, and this is configurable here. I'm not going to enter anything right now, but that's a really nice feature of Talkdesk that integrates well with what we're doing in CrankWheel. Okay, so those are some of the basic things I wanted to show you. I'm going to go dive into a couple of administrative options when you set up CrankWheel with Talkdesk that might be important for you to change. But before I do that, if there are any questions that you'd like to have answered right now during the webinar, go ahead and insert them in the chat window. And I'm only going to wait maybe 10 seconds or so to see if there is anything urgent right now. Otherwise, most of the questions I'll do at the end of the webinar. Okay. So let me just get started showing you the administrative things that you may want to do right after you set up Talkdesk CrankWheel on your Talkdesk account. So assuming you are the person who added CrankWheel to a Talkdesk account, you're going to be the owner and administrator. You can add other owners as you like. To add or remove users, you need to go back to Talkdesk. This is a link that works for that. You can also go back here, and you can add those users. And actually, let me show you how that works. Okay, so you can go to My Apps and click this little configurator here, which your normal users are not going to see. So if you're an admin, you see that. You can change plans right here. So if you've decided to purchase, you can do so, or you can change the users that you have. So you could add this user or however many you want, save changes, and it just takes a couple of seconds to update. And now you can go back to your CrankWheel homepage, where you'll be able to go to access control, and you see that the user that I just added has been added. And if I want to change their privilege level or add them to the instant demos, to the pool of people who handle instant demos, then I do that here in CrankWheel under access control. So I would go to edit, and here I can change their privilege. I can make them an administrator, and I can also decide whether or not they are available for instant demo requests. Okay. The other thing you may want to change soon after or immediately after you add CrankWheel to Talkdesk is you may want to go to Edit Company, and you may want to change some of these aspects. So the name here is taken directly from your Talkdesk account. So the name that you're using for your Talkdesk account will be auto-filled here, but you can change it. And then the public link, or the short link that you tell people to type in when they want to join a meeting that you're hosting, is also automatically filled. And you'll see that in this case, it's CrankWheel Dev. And if we look at the URL here, it's the same as the first part of your Talkdesk URL. So that's automatically used if it's available. If it's not available, it would be something like CrankWheel Dev and then a random number like 47 or what have you. But you can change this to whatever you like. It needs to be 7 characters or longer, 7 characters to 32 characters, in fact. If you need a shorter public link, you can request that by emailing support@crankwheel.com, assuming you are on the department plan or a larger plan than that. Now, the other thing you may want to change is the SMS name. So this is when you invite people to a meeting using a text message, similar to what I did earlier in the webinar. By default, it'll show the phone number that the text message is being sent from, which is going to be a US-based phone number. But in almost all countries across Europe, North America, many other areas in the world, you can just insert a name here. I'm just going to make it CrankWheel, or I could do like something like this. But actually, I can do upper and lowercase characters. So CrankWheel, and then if I save this, if I submit this, that'll be, instead of showing a phone number as the sender of the text message, it's going to show CrankWheel. So you could have, your company name here. So Acme Co, let's say, whatever you like. You can also change the language that your viewers are, or your prospects and viewers are presented with. You can also change the server location. So if you are in North America, you probably want to choose this one. If you are in the Asia Pacific region, you want to choose this one. If you're in Europe, go with the Europe West one. So choose the one that is closest to most of your agents, and that's going to help improve performance of your screen sharing. Now, the other thing that you will often want to change in the Talkdesk integration is if you have phone conferencing through Talkdesk, then you can add your Talkdesk dial-in number right here. That would be the main one which you're typically using. Like, let's say you're in the States, then you would use your United States dial-in number. And then you can have a list here of any number of other dial-in numbers. And this you need to do as an administrator and submit. And then afterwards, anytime, let's put some information in here and submit it. And then as an agent, what happens is whenever an agent wants to schedule a meeting, or if they go to their options page, you'll see that they are able to, I had something saved here before, but they're able to, they'll see the global dial-in number that you configured as an administrator. But each agent will be able to configure the participant PIN that participants in their phone conference are going to be required to use. So let's imagine that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Save that. The PIN has been saved now. And now any meeting that you schedule with CrankWheel will actually show this information. And let's try that. Let's create a scheduled meeting. Let's include phone details. Oops, sorry. I forgot to reopen CrankWheel after doing that. There. Here we go. There we go. Now I've included phone details, and you see that the number that I configured, 555-123-4567, that's shown as the global dial-in, and the participant PIN that I configured as an agent-specific thing is also shown here. And there's also, there could be a full list here of local dial-in numbers, whatever you configured on the administrative page there. And that's something you copy, you paste it into a calendar invite, and that's how people connect to your scheduled meetings in the future. All right. That is about it for the overview of how the CrankWheel and Talkdesk integration works together. And if there are any questions that people would like to add, I see there are a few here that people are asking me to send them answers to directly. But if there are a few questions that you'd like to ask during the webinar, please feel free to do so right now. Okay, it looks like there aren't too many questions, so that's great. It looks like everything then is pretty clear. One thing that I did want to just talk about is if you are interested, if you're not already a Talkdesk customer, maybe you're using CrankWheel already, or maybe you're just interested in using both of the services together. Please get in touch with us at support@crankwheel.com. Just send us an email, support@crankwheel.com, and we'll be happy to make an introduction to the folks at Talkdesk, get them talking with you about the best plan for you for your Talkdesk needs. Their plans start at $25 per month per agent, I believe. You can read all about the Talkdesk service itself at talkdesk.com. Here's the pricing page. And it's a very capable cloud call center solution with very smart functionality. For example, the call result thing that you saw me use earlier, but there's a ton more, and they actually have also a sales focused solution. So Talkdesk for Sales, they call that. So that can be even more interesting for some of you. So I hope you enjoyed learning about CrankWheel and Talkdesk, that integrated package. Thank you very much for attending, and have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye.